You open your eyes and the world's out there. It's obvious. Then, if you become quiet, you start noticing your thoughts running through your mind. It's obvious they're your thoughts. There's a world out there that you're looking at, and there is a world of thought that you're having that are basically creating your world. Well, this is the whole point of mindfulness, of being able to awaken the observer. Because here's what you discover in awakening that observer, is that one, that you and your thoughts are not the same. In fact, you're not having thoughts. They're creating your experience. I want you to grasp that. A few moments ago, we were saying, oh, I have thoughts running through my mind. Yeah, they're my thoughts. Yeah. And now we're saying, no, you don't even have them. They're not yours. And they're creating your destiny in your absentia. And then what happens is that there's a world out there, and all of a sudden we're discovering, no, there's not. There's a world in here. In neurobiology, what's said is that you have never experienced reality, ever. Instead, what you have experienced is your brain that's located and locked down in this dark cauldron of a cranium has never experienced the world out there, but takes all this sensorial data coming in, and what it does is it makes sense out of it somehow and creates a world out there, as if it's out there. But the truth is, the world is being created in here by whatever observer you are at the moment. Isn't that amazing? And let's think about that one more time. Is that you're not having thoughts, they're having you. You're not having beliefs. You don't have them. They're having you, they're creating your experience. But Randy, it feels so real. What are you telling me? This is like, I can't believe it, This is hypocrisy. And yet, what happens is that we get it, is that you are a construction of a self. You do not exist, but are created. Basically, what happens, your brain's job is to take the information, start building a structure of a self called you that can survive in the world. And then it locks in. And then you don't know to look at it and say, oh, that's just one of my projections. That's just simply one of the ways my brain organized my potential, into a self that can survive in the world. No, you don't say that. You're saying, no, I'm looking at all those things out there that are separate from me, and yeah, I'm hearing my thoughts and my beliefs. What are they? They're the ones I talk about, but what if there are other beliefs running around in the background creating your experience? Oh my. Now we're getting someplace. What we want to do, we want to understand one phenomenal thing that comes out of neurobiology and also quantum mechanics. At the level of quantum, we are all undivided whole and participating equally in this wholeness. Yet, we certainly don't see it. Why not? Fundamentally, an observer is created that allows us to see what we see. And contrary to that, we also are in a different position of going, we also can't see what we can't see because the observer that we've become is locked into a particular perceptual pattern of the world. And it begins to have blinders and it can't see everything around you. This is one of the mistakes that the New Age folk make, is that they think that they have mind over matter. In truth, what's happening is that as you expand the ability of the observer to encompass experience, you begin to see more and more potential around you that's always been there. You're not creating it. You're just beginning to get a peek at it. Okay? This is the same kind of thing as we're talking about how do we awaken this aspect of ourself, the observing self, that can step back out of thought and recognize, oh, my thoughts and I are not the same. Step out of beliefs and recognize that my beliefs and I are not the same. However, simply because of adaptation into this world, and understand, we are in a pretty broken world. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, okay? And by virtue of our brain organizing us to survive in a broken, pretty crazy-making world, we ourselves get pretty dinged. And out of that, our observer only can see a certain amount. The question is this: how do we begin to awaken that observer so that we begin to see much greater horizons around us that we can act on? It's kind of like this. Nelson Mandela was put into solitary confinement for 3 years. The Afrikaners truly thought they were going to break the man. Solitary confinement. Yet, Mandela comes to actually see that they did him a favor. In that, what happened is, no, he didn't break. What he discovered, he developed an observer that came to the notion that said, you know something? I am captain of my own destiny. I don't have to make up stories about the Afrikaners taking my freedom away. I am going to come to them and I'm going to use compassion. I'm going to understand my enemy to be able to find a way out of this quagmire they were in. And they did. So what we're doing here, understand, the observer that you are causes you to see what you see. Out of what you see as a construction of self, you act on, you creating your world. The problem with most of us don't even know there's an observing self. So we're just kind of battering around, running into brick walls, and we can't see why we keep running into the walls. What we're doing is, in this work, what you learn to do is to awaken that observer and begin to realize that you can unlock yourself from those historical patterns of vision of what you can see, and you can develop new ways of seeing so that you realize, okay, if my observer, if the quantum mechanics boys are right, is that everything is potential, exists as potential. The observer of that potential is what brings forth the form. What happens if you begin to develop that observer, okay, and you start bringing forth a completely different world based on that new way of observing and being in the world? Friends, that's the real ticket. That's the power of why you have to develop the observer so that you can step back out of the construction of the self you fell into. And then, like Nelson Mandela, you can become the captain of your own destiny. You begin to recognize that as I develop this observer, I see further and further and further afield about what I could be. I see further into the potential of myself as a human being. And I begin to see, you know something? I don't have to take anything of this personally. You know, this is just an adaptation. I don't have to be embarrassed about who I came to be while I was still in a fog. No, the deal is waking up. And what do you do then? How do you start developing the self, recognizing you and your thoughts, you and your beliefs aren't the same? In fact, beliefs in particular are very malleable. You can come to a completely different understanding of when you engage uncertainty, what mind is engaging that uncertainty. We inherit a fear-based, anxiety-based mind from our caveman days, and it doesn't get much better in our family of origins and our communities. We also grew up in highly competitive societies and families that kind of lock us into a way of being in the world that also locks us out of greater freedom. And friends, I invite you to awaken your observer and to see just how rich of a gift that we live in. Come and see. Come and see.